Welcome to Conversations. I'm Suresh Kochata. Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington, and for a good purpose. After the Iran ceasefire that was brokered by President Trump, Netanyahu is winging his way and actually has landed in Washington and even met President Trump. What is on cards? Obviously, President Trump has made it clear that it's all about ceasefire. He wants a ceasefire in Gaza, but it's easier said than done. He might have got it one right in Iran and Israel, but to get Iran agree to Hamas to negotiate with Israel is a different ballgame. What would Hamas negotiate for? Or what does Israel want? Both have different shades of opinion. Israel, for one, wants Hamas to be finished, to be disarmed, not to exist. But then Hamas will not give away. After all, they are a proxy of Iran. But with the present circumstances in Iran, after the bombing that we saw by Israel and the US, Iran has now literally given up on its allies or proxies. Only the Houthis seem to be active. And that too will finish in a few days once either the US or even Israel will take them on. The bigger picture is, of course, the ceasefire. Hamas is desperate because the citizens of Gaza are now abusing them, holding them responsible for their misery. Over 57,000 people have been killed, according to Hamas themselves. We don't know how many of them are innocent civilians and how many are the Hamas terrorists. One thing is for sure, Israel is also under pressure. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing a court case, as we all know, and he's also under pressure to get the hostages back. Again, we don't know how many are alive. According to it, about a dozen of them, or maybe more, are alive. 18 of them are confirmed dead, whose bodies, remains are to be brought back to Israel. In exchange, Israel will have to give up possibly hundreds of Palestinian prisoners in their jails. But what happens once the agreement is through and ratified? The talks that are going on in Doha with Egypt, Qatar, and US negotiating indirectly between Hamas and Israel is walking a very thin line. The ultra-right parties in Israel don't want any deal with Hamas, while the citizens of Israel are fed up with the war in a sense, and they want their hostages back. Netanyahu is literally caught between a rock and a hard place. He doesn't know what to do. And for sure, he knows what to do also. Both ways. He knows that if he goes and does a deal with Hamas, his government might fall. And if he doesn't do it, he will be under increasing pressure from the United States and also from the Europeans, who kind of put a ban on him. But then, will Hamas agree to whatever is being said and done? After all, they are a terrorist group. Tomorrow they can just deny having said anything like that. And that is going to be the dangerous thing. Because President Trump wants a Nobel Prize. That's for sure. He claims to have stopped the 4-day, we can't call it a war, but 4-day skirmish between India and Pakistan. He claimed to have stopped the war between Iran and Israel. And now he wants to claim credit for the truce that he will bring in Gaza between the Hamas and the Israelis. But beyond it all is a question of what will the Middle East look like. Saudi Arabia, for example, the Abraham Accord. For sure, Syria is being pressurized. The new government in Syria, which is actually a terrorist group, which President Trump has waved off in terms of their terrorist activities, will sign on the dotted line as President Trump wants, in return for money from US and kind of aid packages that will come along. Saudi Arabia said it will also sign on the dotted line, but it wants a civilian nuclear project for itself. Because the Saudis know that the oil won't last for long, and they need a uranium project that will purely be for peaceful purposes, which will involve building a nuclear project, which is basically a plant. But then, going by Iran's experience, we don't know what will happen. The other nations also in the Middle East, be it Bahrain, be it even Qatar, Oman, and of course UAE and other nations will also have to sign on. Because to bring Israel on board is something that President Trump wants to do. He can arm twist these nations, but they will demand something in return, like what the Saudis are doing. But that leaves us with Hamas. What will Hamas of the future look like? Say, a couple of years from now, will Israel allow Hamas to survive? It has hunted down and killed every one of its leaders. And that is a major question. Because like in Lebanon, what happened to the Hezbollah, who have gone totally quiet, will the same thing happen to Hamas? Will Israel insist that there should be a civilian administration in Gaza, possibly run by the UN, or the Palestinian Authority, which everybody seems to have forgotten, which is manning the West Bank? Israel, for one, is sure that it will not negotiate with Hamas directly. Because as I mentioned before, there's a huge pressure on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu not to do so. Because it will encourage the other terrorist groups and even give credibility to Hamas for a reason to exist. There needs to be elections in Gaza, but that's a far cry. Today, Gaza is a war zone, flattened out. It will take ages, possibly 10 to 20 years to rebuild Gaza to what it was before. But if Hamas remains, then those tunnels below those buildings will again come up. And Israel will not allow that to happen. After all, October 7th was a watershed moment for Israel. A nation whose existence itself is challenged by many countries, including Iran, who chant death to Israel and even death to US every time. But then Israel knows that it has to exist. It has from 1948 till now. To successive prime ministers, from Ben-Gurion to Benjamin Netanyahu. But the question is, if a deal comes through in Washington, the contours of which we are not even sure, what will happen to Hamas? And will Israel blink first, or will it be Prime Minister Netanyahu who will let go everything and slip into oblivion? Will President Trump fail again? That's a question we have. Keep watching. Jai Hind.